3-0, and there's some names you've been following the stream throughout the year you'll recognize. Danny Altavilla coming off of a top 8 last weekend at the Hartford Regional Championships a few weekends ago, playing this same 60-card Lost Zone box deck up against Alec. It feels like we keep seeing this deck ever since Scarlet and Violet. It is the star breakthrough deck of this format, of this expansion, Gardevoir EX.
Definitely Alec Geisler here, bringing something interesting. I know that people have been falling off a little bit of, have been falling off the Gardevoir deck a little bit, but you know what? I think if there is a tournament Gardevoir can take, it could be this one. I feel like it's shaping up good in the meta, except that it has to dodge a couple of lost boxes, unfortunately. It does have a pretty tough matchup, you'd think.
It's weird. You have a few tools like the Cresselia, which can use Moonglow Reverse to put some damage counters off, but it really comes down to those early setup turns. What cards do you have access to?
Ooh, looks like we are setting up here a couple of prizes. The Kyogre prize right there, and the Hisuian Heavy Ball. That could be big, while on Alec's side of the field, getting the Gardevoir prization, a Penny. Penny could be big here. Penny is a great way to heal up. How are we feeling about this, Ethan?
Nothing too terrible. Like, Kyogre's a great card in a lot of matchups, but against Gardevoir, it's really not what you need in order to close it out. It does have some utility usage, and it can be used as a finisher, of course, but not really your main approach. Really going to just be taking the opportunities to target down these Kirlia early on in the game, shut off that draw engine, and let's get things underway. Alec going to be starting things off with the draw. Not a lot going in the hand, but did fight Level Ball there, so importantly can get out another Ralts in the deck, potentially grab that here. But the question is, what do you even go for? Do you go for Ralts? Mew is an interesting choice here. You don't get the guaranteed search with the Ralts, but you can at least try to utilize Mysterious Tail, try and find the copy of that Battle VIP pass, and really try to get your setup going.
Exactly. It looks like Mew might be the grab. It looks like it's going to be put up there in the front. Again, Mew has the Mysterious Tail ability, able to look at the top 6 cards of your deck, grab a trainer, preferably a Battle VIP pass, but we'll have to see. Didn't quite get to see the rest of the hand if they have a way to retreat. It's as simple as an energy, but right now, again, you do want you want the most optimal start, especially against Lost Box. Let's see what they can grab here. It is going to be the Mew. Let's see if they have the retreat.
It's tough. Mew is a great card on the first turn of the game in a lot of matchups. Mysterious Tail, looking at the cards, trying to find Battle VIP pass, but it's such a liability against this Lost Zone deck. If your opponent is ever able to utilize cards like Escape Rope to play around attacking into Mew, not only does it just sit on your bench with 60 HP, which can easily be knocked out with Lost Mine, but it also takes up a crucial bench space. We need to talk about some of the threats that Danny has on his side. Radiant Greninja means that the Manaphy on Alec's side's got to come down. You have to have things like Cresselia sometimes in play to be able to move damage counters off. On top of that, you also need your, of course, Gardevoir line to be able to draw cards. You kind of run out of bench space, and you give easy prizes to your opponent down the line.
Great point, Ethan. I think the 60 HP, just such a big liability as well. There we go. We're going to see the retreat into the Mew. Mysterious Tail, couple of Battle VIP pass, so we are playing a game here. I've always said this. If you open a Battle VIP pass, you know you're going to have a good time. And Alec, I'm sure, is breathing a sigh of relief here. Let's see what they decide to grab. Grabbing looks like another Ralts. I like the grab here, the 60 HP, just so that you can evolve your right away, and just really prioritizing the Manaphy there.
Yeah, this is a tough situation. I mean, you know your opponent's playing a Lost Zone deck, so it's kind of risky to sort of end your first turn, even if your opponent's going second, not putting Manaphy into play. There is always that threat of the turn 1 Moonlight Shuriken, but
you think that's possible? Turn 1 Moonlight Shuriken
it is,
off
yep.
the bat?
You get triple Comfey plus Chorus plus Lost Vacuum that puts you to 7. However, the one issue I have here is, Alec, you already really dislike if your opponent has Escape Rope and a turn 1 Cramorant hit to play around. Putting all these Pokemon on the bench that you really don't want to get knocked out, the Manaphy you really can't give up to your opponent. You just open up Moonlight Shuriken. You really don't want to shut off Ralts because you, of course, need to utilize that for the refinement ability and also to get Gardevoir into play. Maybe would have liked to see something like the Greninja come down. It can at least take a hit from one of these Cramorants, and the damage can be moved on later. But a great start here with Chorus for Danny, and with 2 Battle VIP pass surprise, finds one of them off the top 5 here with Chorus.
Not bad indeed, Danny there, starting with the Chorus Experiment. Great card, especially in the Lost Box. Again, you get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Put 3 in your hand, 2 in the Lost Zone, just being able to power up your hand and Lost Zone there. Looks like sending the Mirage Gate, and I believe that was an energy to the Lost Zone. Right now, counter is at 2. The magic number to hit, of course, is 4. Just to get the attack off with the Cramorant. Flower selecting being played now. Clara hitting the Lost Zone.
Yeah, tough choice there. Tough. Lost Vacuum in Clara. I think Danny really understands that there is the potential for a turn 2 Lost Mine, which is so detrimental against this deck. Targeting Kirlia down, again, is exactly what you want to do. You can even target Manaphy down to open that line up. Really saying, I've got 1 copy of this here. I've got multiple copies of Clara, I'm not forced to Lost Zone any Sableye, and doing that before utilizing Battle Pass to try and see more Pokemon on the deck ends up not paying off, but can still at least utilize another Flower Selecting, utilize this Cramorant on turn 1, and take prizes on the first turn of the game. Exactly what you want to see here with the Lost Box deck.
Definitely. Turn is not over yet. I'm sure we're going to see a couple more flower selectings. We do see the Cramorant and the Comfey grab there from the Battle VIP Pass. Again, it looks like both players are having a good time now. Do we see a switch? Do we have an energy to retreat?
So I believe both those pieces are there. So did save the Psychic Energy off the Colress's experiment, has the Switch Cart first. I think playing Switch Cart here is probably the better choice right away. If you find Radiant Greninja, you can possibly concealed cards with that. Another Flower Selecting, another tough choice. Having to get rid of another energy card. You really value these, of course, for Kyogre later on in the game. And it's going to be a risky Pokestop.
Oh, absolutely huge Pokestop. Gets 2 Nest Balls and a Switch card. That practically translate into a Battle VIP Pass right there. What do you grab here as Danny?
Greninja's coming down right away. That is a perfect Pokestop. Finding not only the pivoting card here, you can save the energy, now utilize concealed cards to draw more cards, but you also get to find more Pokemon out of the deck as well. You've now got the option to get Sableye down into play right now. Of course, saving that Lost Vacuum really shows that Danny is going to try and go for that turn 2 Lost Mine. Better way than getting Sableye down, keeping those cards. Found Colress as well off that second Flower Selecting. If there's no hand disruption here, Danny's got it pretty much all set, not just for this turn, but the following turn as well.
Definitely, Danny looks like is having an absolutely great turn. Concealed cards there, drawing 2 more. All he needs here, if he has an escape rope, I believe that could be the best play possible. Just get rid of something on the bench. Looks like we're going to play the Lost Vacuum. You know what? I get to use that Pokestop, not you. Sending the Energy Recycler to the Lost Zone there. Very interesting play.
Yeah, I think Danny just understands, like, he's going to want to go for Lost Mine, and there's the potential that a counter stadium comes into play, so might as well guarantee the 2 cards in the Lost Zone right now. Play that card, and of course, like you said, don't give Pokestop. Danny strikes first, taking the first prize card.
All right, Mew getting knocked out there, but again, that Mew could still come back with something like the Echoing Horn as the Manaphy gets put into the active. Looking at Alec's hand, they do have a couple of Refinement Curlias. That means there is a way to draw here. Has the Fog Crystal as well. Looks like we're going to use that. Might have to grab another Curlia, possibly Zacian, just to have a bigger body on board, but I'm sure Alec here is looking for something like a Rare Candy Gardevoir to start dealing with the Cramorant, to start taking prizes themselves.
Yeah, it's a tough position with this hand because there's not a lot going on. No draw supporter. Does have double Curlia. And it seems like pretty much how Alex is deciding at this point is, listen, I'm going to take a turn off. I'm going to draw some cards here with Refinement. I'm going to put you at 4 cards in hand. I know you just drew a lot of cards. I know you just selected a lot of specific pieces. Let me maybe put up one of those Pokemon, try and buy myself some time. This is not what you want to see when your opponent's had such a stellar and aggressive start.
For sure. Big judge there. Both players shuffle up. Great equalizer. Both players draw 4, but now both Curlias in play means Alec has access to 4 extra cards. Something of note, though, the 2 Raltses have evolved. That means there's no chance for a Rare Candy Gardevoir play, potentially. That means Alex is not taking a prize this turn. Let's see what both players draw off the judge. Battle VIP, couple of energy. Miriam could be a big card, especially since that Manaphy should be going down as Danny draws. Does he draw anything in particular? There's a 4 Sealstone and a Dragonite, so not too bad. First Refinement here.
So I'll be really interested to see what Alec gets off these 2 Refinement abilities. I feel like you really don't want to give your opponent another prize card to work with. If you can find something like Radiant Greninja or Cresselia this turn, you can at least try to retreat into that. Interesting choice there for Alec. Decided to get rid of energy before this Battle VIP pass. If there was an energy card in this hand, in addition to this Fog Crystal, you can find the Cresselia, attach, retreat into the Cresselia, and then pass the turn over. But it's actually just going to be a Roar of the Sword, powering the Zacian up, pretty much accepting that Manaphy will go down. And this is a big break here for Danny. An extra turn. This is essentially a bonus turn here for Danny. You're expecting with this Lost Zone deck to be taking knockouts, but also getting knocked out in advance. And now you get a free turn to draw some more cards with concealed cards, put some more cards in the Lost Zone, and work with what you got.
Definitely a very scary spot here for Alec as Danny just goes ahead and uses Radiant Greninja, concealed card, draws 2 more. But right now, they have the knockout on Manaphy. Again, Manaphy is such an important card in this matchup. And if they wanted to, they could still dig a little bit more. If they have a way to retreat to that Comfey.
This is an interesting choice for Danny. It does have the Forest Sealstone and Dragonite, but understands that the goal for this turn is probably just to knock Manaphy out. It's good to take the prize cards right now, set yourself up for Moonlight Shuriken to put damage on the board. and then preps the energy on the Comfey, getting it ready to be able to retreat the following turn, so there's that pivoting option. And right away, Danny going to 4 prize cards. Sure, you have Miriam to respond, but you still got to put a lot of things together to get this knockout.
That has to be the perfect supporter for the turn, though. Getting the Mew back into the deck, plus the Manaphy means there's no liability anymore in the discard pile. No more Echoing Horde target, and you get your Manaphy back. That's something I'm sure Alec would love to see, because right now, Curlia only has 90 HP, plus there's a Ralts. Moonlight Sugarcane looking very scary here, and something Alex has done, has attached preemptively to that Zacian V. So there's 2 energies right now, hasn't attached for turn just yet.
Yeah, of course, Alex still has to find a lot of pieces here. Has to find, first of all, the energy for turn, has to find Manaphy, but speaking of which, finds both of those pieces right away. Able to get the Ultra Ball and Psychic Energy. Not have 2 refinement abilities as well. Still a lot of digging power, but my question really at this point is it a little bit too late at this point? Sure, you put Zacian up, but this is a Pokemon that's easily going to be able to be knocked out by something like Dragonite. Even a Raikou with a full bench can take a knockout as well. How can you keep yourself in this game?
Looks like Alec opting to refine another killer there. Looks like they're really looking for the Gardevoir EX and just really making use of the rare candy in hand, potentially. Drops the Manaphy. And I have to agree, though, Ethan, this is looking very, very tough indeed, especially with that Dragonite in hand. Danny could go down to 2 prizes this early on, while Alex has really struggled to take their first one. There we go. We're going to see the Ultra Ball there. Grabbing the Gardevoir EX, the crux of the deck with the Psychic Embrace ability, able to attach as many Psychic Energy from your discard pile, but you put damage onto your board, which I'm sure that's a very bad thing, right, Ethan?
Not in this matchup specifically. Yeah, you don't want to put damage to the board. A small thing to note, Alec did discard this Lumineon V off of the Ultra Ball. It is always a little bit risky if you want to put that in play, but here's a card we don't see a lot. Buddy Catch Gallade. Able to search out a supporter card for the deck. This guarantees a lot of those specific disruption cards. For example, if the Zacian gets knocked out, Roxanne is a great card that you're going to want to play in the future. And Buddy Catch is a perfect ability to be able to get that into play. Alex strikes back, though, taking a prize card in advance, but Danny's already got the Dragonite and Forest Seal Stone in hand.
So something Alec was able to grab, though, was the penny, I believe, off the prizes. So this could be big. If Danny doesn't have the knockout on the Zacian, they could potentially take a hit and then get pennied away. That's something Alec can do to get back into this, as we just see a flower selecting here.
Tough choice. Yeah, you've already lost zone 2 energy cards. You've already lost zone to Clara as well. What can you afford to get rid of at this point? I feel like getting rid of the lightning energy is probably okay if you're not going to go for Kyogre in this game plan. You've got pretty easy knockouts lined up. You can knock out the Zacian, knock out Manaphy, and then knock out one of these 1-price Pokemon. But Danny deciding, I've still got a Clara left. I've still got some resources. Utilizing the concealed cards off the energy. 2 more pieces, and does have 1 more pivoting option here. This will put Danny into a position where he's really looking to find something like Colress's Experiment. No, but just finds the Battle VIP past the Lost Zone away. So we're in Mirage Gate zone now. We're in the Mirage Gate numbers.
But the question is, do we have the water energy for the Dragonite? That's something I don't think I've been able to see just yet. But we do still have the Forest Seal Zone. So the world is Danny's oyster here. It's just a matter of doing what flowchart does he follow at this point. I believe you just have to take a knockout on the station. Just really push your lead, as we do see the Dragonite V being benched. Forest Seal Zone attached, giving Dragonite half a Starbirth. Gets to find any 1 card from the deck, and it looks like it's going to be the Colress's Experiment, of course.
So the issue here is Danny has played a lot of these pivoting cards, has a lot of Escape Rope left, but you really don't want to play Escape Rope into a position where now you have Dragonite in play. You also need to find the Water Energy too. Has Mirage Gate already in hand. So it's really going to be relying off of this Colress to find the Water Energy, find the pivoting card. All these abilities have been utilized already. Double Flower Selecting and Radiant Greninja. Big Colress here for Danny.
All right, let's see what they grab. There it is. Just correcting there, the V-Star has been used. Colress Experiment being played. A couple of energies going to that. Water Energy is pretty good, though. Pretty good to grab for sure. Didn't quite get to see what else. I believe an Escape Rope as well.
Double Escape Rope, Energy Recycler, and 2 Water Energy are the choices. So I think for sure you want to keep the Water Energy and the Escape Rope. The question is, how much do you value this Energy Recycler if you're not going to go for a play like Kyogre? I feel like it might be okay to get rid of 1, but you've already got rid of another piece as well.
I mean, Danny does play 4 Energy Recycler, so I feel like it should be fine to send, but it looks like Mirage Gate plus the water energy is the send there. And if I was Alex, I'd be trembling in my boots right now, because that, in my mind, those are the 2 cards he needed to take this knockout, and he sends it to the Lost Zone. That can only signify he has a couple more in his hand. And look at Danny's hand right now. It looks absolutely terrifying.
It's a little scary here, though, for Danny. You have every single piece in hand right now. The only problem is you're going to have to play this escape rope to put the Zacian out of the active. So if you're in Alec's position, I think it's a pretty easy choice. I think Gallade always is the Pokemon that comes up here. It's got the most ability to pivot. It's not going to be knocked out by any shenanigans in some sort of way.
But of course,
yeah, Sableye is going to be the easier response. But I think if you're Danny at this point, you might as well just take the free prize on this Kirlia, shut that draw engine off, and pretty much route your prizes pretty easily here. You can knock out the Kirlia, knock out one more of these one-prize Pokemon, and from there, that Zacian on the bench or the Gardevoir can be knocked out down the line with setup from Lost Mine and a big knockout from the Dragon Gale on the Dragonite.
Yeah, it looks like just attaching another Forest Seal Stone, just getting out of the deck, prepping for the inevitable Roxanne turn. Again, there's the energy attached to the Sableye. It's going to be a Lost Mine. Again, Lost Mine, as long as you have 10 cards in your Lost Zone, which Danny does have. That is the main target of the Lost Zone deck. You get to put 12 damage counters on play. Looks like it's going to be damage onto the Gardevoir there, though, putting 6 damage and 6 more damage onto the Manaphy. Interesting play here. Opting not to take the knockout, maybe playing around the Roxanne turn specifically.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the exact option here. Really does not want to get Roxanne, wants to keep the hand, wants to keep options. And you see very clearly Danny very much projecting how he wants this game to go. Knocking out this one-prize Pokemon, setting up damage to knock out either of these 2-prize Pokemon. Danny is not playing any cards like Boss's Orders in the deck to be able to gust up these bench Pokemon, so it really has to rely on, hey, if it's attacking, it's already have to have the damage on it to knock it out. I can't really pivot around things besides Escape Rope, which of course your opponent can choose to bring up. Alec has to figure out how to stay in this game. Already played the 1 copy of Judge. There's no other way to disrupt the hand besides Roxanne. We just saw Danny smartly not take knockouts to play around that.
Exactly. Looks like Alec here playing the Fog Crystal again, able to find any basic Psychic Pokemon or basic Energy. Great flexible card here in the Gardevoir deck. Opts to grab the Cresselia.
And this is the issue with spreading damage on the board is you open up Cresselia to use Moonglow Reverse to put all these damage counters on your Pokemon. You are setting up to put 6 damage counters on that Gardevoir EX so that a 250 damaged attack from this Dragonite could do perfect math. But now Cresselia is going to swoop in here and ruin all of Danny's plans.
Exactly. Absolutely great card to grab in this specific matchup. Moonglow Reverse. Great. I'm sure Alec would love to heal more than 20 damage off their Gardevoir and Manaphy, but we take what we can get here. Looks like they could potentially. They do have the Penny in hand as well. Maybe you could opt to use it on the Manaphy. Is Manaphy that important?
I mean, you're going to heal damage off. You don't really play around something. I mean, really, my question here for Alec, and I like this play, is what better supporter do you have to play? Do you see yourself playing Penny in any other situation? Maybe, but you have Palpad to put it back in. You're still going to want to probably play Roxanne next turn when things get moved. So here we go. If you've never seen Cresselia act before, this is exactly what it does. Pairs perfectly with this deck. 2 damage counters put on the Gallade, retreating through. And here we go. Because there are 4 Pokemon in play with at least 20 damage on, Moonglow Reverse will take the damage counters off, knocking out the Sableye, and this hurts even more for Danny. Not only is there a Sableye in the discard pile now, but one is also in the Lost Zone, and a Clara is there too.
I think Alec had to make this exact play to stay in it, because now prizes are all tied up. We essentially negated Danny's turn as he just goes ahead and flower selects here a little bit. Let's see what play they have to work with. Again, Cresselia 120 HP, a little bit tough to knock out without another Sableye potentially.
And Danny is turboing through the deck. He is locked in, or maybe is just a little bit upset that that happened at last turn to really ruin the plans that were set up. I mean, you could have technically just taken a knockout on the Curlier or taken a knockout on the Manaphy, and you would have essentially played around this line, set up your route. Now Alec is at 4 prize cards. Things are evened up now. There's no damage on his board whatsoever, and a lot of these Pokemon have been fully evolved to their higher HP states.
All right, Escape Rope being played. Again, when you play Escape Rope, your opponent has to choose who to bring up first, so you can plan accordingly. Looks like it's going to be another flower selecting, grabbing, was that a Mirage Gate or a Lightning Energy? Another tough choice. I think this is what happens in the Lost Box deck. When you get down to the last couple of cards in your deck, you typically have pretty much want everything in there, right?
It's so tough. I don't feel like you can afford to get rid of your second Mirage Gate, but you're already down, I think, 3 energy in the Lost Zone already, so that's pretty much, you're at almost half your energy gone in the Lost Zone, a third of your energy.
You think Danny's playing towards the Aqua Storm play here?
I don't know how possible it is when your opponent can just put back Manaphy one more time. They do have the Pal Pad in the decks, can put back Miriam, play the Miriam card. Kind of have it guaranteed as well with the Gallade because you can play the Pal Pad, buddy catch for it, put it back in. I feel like Danny at this point may have to just sort of route off this Kyogre strategy and see, can I take prize cards to make sense? Can I put my opponent in a position where they have to attack me with one of these 2 prize Pokemon? Otherwise, how do I stay in this lead if I'm not going to be able to take prize cards this turn? I mean, for Danny, really the choice is also what attacker do you want to use this turn? Can't use Greninja because Manaphy's in play. I mean, you can use Greninja to take a prize on the Curlia, I guess. That would be sort of the only option, but we'll see what the choice is.
Looks like we should be finding out shortly as Energy Recycler was played earlier in combination with this Mirage Gate.
And it is going to be that.
We can power up the Greninja. We can do 90 damage for one knockout.
That is
not the most optimal, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting choice here for Danny. I think we're actually going to see, is that both Mirage Gate? Yeah, so both Mirage Gate there, putting 4 energy into play. And this is the choice.
That's a lot of resources to take one knockout.
Alec could have just put this Gallade up into the active spot. Both of these Pokemon having 2 retreat costs, could have just put that in. Danny's going to take advantage that this Curlia went into the active spot. It's going to give him a route to prize. Sure, it's going to take a lot more resources, right? 2 Mirage Gate just got burned. That's going to mean all the Mirage Gate essentially are gone right now, out of play. But at least you're taking prize cards. At least you're advancing towards your final game state. The question is, does Danny have the resources to be able to fire off enough damage to take these prize cards faster than Alec will?
Yeah, this game is suddenly turning around indeed. I was thinking Danny was just such in a commanding position, but Alec just playing the right plays he needed to get back into it, as we do see the Radiant Greninja getting moved to the active again, has the attack. Moonlight Shuriken gets to 90 damage to 2 Pokemon, but with that Manaphy in play, only gets to knock out the Curlia in the active. Not the most optimal, but that's a prize.
Yep, not even targeting the second Pokemon. Understands the damage will do nothing. Moonlight Shuriken, a very rare instance we see it. Just take the knockout on the active. 90 damage, enough to knock out Curlia. And the choice here for Alec. How do you want to set this board up? Does have 2 damage counters, able to move off that Gardevoir EX, can just heal a little bit more damage off, can target down some of these bench Pokemon, and there are plenty of Psychic Energy in the discard pile to utilize Psychic Embrace to put damage counters on your own board.
Yeah, it looks like Ultra Ball being played here. Could find themselves, ooh, Radiant Greninja. I like this play, just filling up the board, protecting yourself from a potential Echoing Horn play there. And Roxanne being played. Again, Danny down to 3 prizes. Perfect time to play this. Both players shuffle up. Alex draws 3. Danny draws 2. Is Roxanne a lie here? We're going to have to see what Danny draws.
Yeah, Danny's down a lot of resources. And the problem is a lot of the deck is just energy cards that were put back in with Energy Recycler. And this is sort of what I think Danny has realized is you can try to play around Roxanne, but that's why Cresselia is so good at playing around those win conditions, healing damage off and making it so difficult. And now not only will Alex even things up with essentially no damage on board, but you're going to leave this Greninja in the active spot by utilizing Moonglow Reverse to knock out one of these bench Comfey. Leave your opponent with not only just 2 cards in hand, but really not a lot of resources to be able to take these knockouts. Targeting the Comfey down with the energy, of course, pretty easy choice. You know it's going to have a pivot. What do you do? Danny having the last Mirage Gate in hand, concealed cards to draw some more cards, does find Energy Recycler, so that means that this can potentially power up an attacker, but I mean, what do you use here? Danny really understands there's no other option to stay into this. Alec is going to have the resources to outlast this game, deny prize cards, and in a pretty wild flip-flop, upside-down game, Alec takes game 1.
Definitely something I wasn't expecting. We were talking about how Gardevoir, you know, the one bad matchup for Gardevoir definitely in this metagame is going to be that Lost Box, but it's not impossible. Again, with the Gardevoir deck having so many tools at its disposal, with that Cresselia, with the Manaphy's, with the Gallade, Buddy Catch Gallade, that's something I loved seeing. It definitely was possible. Again, Alex G playing against one of the best players in the tournament for sure, Danny Altavilla. Again, an IC champion, regional champion. So I've always said this, you know, if Lost Box can win a tournament, it's in the hands of a great player. It's one of the hardest decks to play for sure. But what do you think Danny has to do here to replan, to remaneuver?
I'm still thinking about the turn that Danny just decided to open himself up to getting Cresselia and have that happen. I think with this Lost Zone deck, you kind of have to just accept that you're going to get Roxanne, and sure, you want to put yourself in a position where you can maybe win the next turn with Roxanne, but the issue is your opponent's going to have so many different ways to play around. I mean, even in a position, right, if you set the math up and you take the knockout, your opponent can put up something like the Buddy Catch Gallade to deal 160 damage and still be able to take knockouts without putting up a 2-prize Pokemon. Those options still exist, and I think for Danny, maybe realizing the lesson of listen, I've got to at least put some damage on the board. I've at least got to start taking these prize cards, shut this engine off. If I don't, Cresselia is just going to put in work. That is a textbook example of why Cresselia is so strong in this deck, by denying those setup turns to make it so easy to close games out like Lost Box is usually able to do.
Exactly. Again, being able to heal your Pokemon and take a targeted knockout. Cresselia, absolutely powerful card. Definitely shows why it deserves a spot in this Gardevoir deck, as both players are readying up here. As who do you think's going first here? Again, Lost Box, I typically think you want to go second, get the first knockout a lot of the times, but
I was actually
Gardevoir,
it's weird. I was talking to Grant Manley about this actually in between rounds, saying, listen, if you don't know what you're playing against, what do you do here? Oh boy, Danny prizing double Colress's Experiment. Not what you want to see at all. But on that main point to say, going first, you just want to get more cards in the Lost Zone. In a matchup like this, Gardevoir is not doing anything going second compared to what they do going first. If anything, they've got more cards, but it seems like Danny actually going to take the opposite here, deciding to go second in game number 1, maybe trying to take advantage of what he did game 1. First quick prize knockout, taking the first prize cards with Cramorant. And Alec starting one of these Pokemon we don't see a lot get started. That's Zashi, and it has a 2 retreat cost.
Yep, so no easy retreat there to the Mew if Alec was hoping to go for that play, but looks like is going to play that Fog Crystal, probably grab a Ralts here. You're going to need a couple of Ralts to be able to evolve for sure. Have to think, I'm sure he's looking for something like a Radiant Greninja, right? Just to really protect yourself from something like an Escape Rope. There's another level ball being played. Could grab the Manaphy at this point.
So Alec has Forest Seal Stone in play. I think what I would like to see is that the Forest Seal Stone get utilized this turn. I mean,
but no, it's just going to be
put yourself into a more position where you're just battle passing, you're setting your entire board up. But Alec really, I just guess, trying to find that consistency card. You could, of course, grab Judge out of your deck turn 2, utilizing that. Because you started the Zashi, and it means next turn it will be able to attack. Now, of course, not going to be a great trade if it's taking damage this turn from Cramorant and getting knocked out, but that's down the line future. And Danny, playing with fast speed, understands he's got to go quick. And what a great way to start things out. Double Battle VIP Pass. Get these Pokemon into play. Get them going.
Definitely, speaking of Battle VIP Pass, Danny just playing 2 absolutely commanding start here. Gets a couple comp phase in play, gets the Radiant Greninja, is not going to be lacking on draws, despite not having the Colress. Despite prizing 2 Colress Experiment, still has access to 2 in the deck, still could potentially draw into them. Let's see what they have in store. Again, Danny right now has no attacker in play necessarily. Would love to see the turn 1 Moonlight Shuriken, but no, the Manaphy's in play. That's not even a possibility here. We're going to see concealed cards, drawing 2 more. Another Battle VIP Pass, why not? Do we even play it?
I don't even think you know what you want in this position here. Oh, tough choice. I think you have to keep Dragonite. I feel like you've got 2 Forest Seal Stone in the deck, and I think the risk here is like you've got Nest Ball in hand, so technically you can find something like Raikou out of the deck and potentially grab that. But I think with how Danny's playing this, you've got to kind of keep Dragonite around for later, I feel like. And
yeah,
is going to be the choice here. Putting the first card in the Lost Zone, has another Battle VIP Pass, can play that. Put these down into play. The question here, no Colress, no switching cards yet. He's deciding to just utilize this first, and another tough choice here. I feel like you really want to keep Echoing Horn around, and you're going to have to put that Energy Cycle. Here we go, big 3 cards. Getting 3 items again.
Yeah, why
Look
not?
At him. He's spinning the wheel and he's succeeding.
Pretty sure Pokestop for Lost Box just reads, draw 3 cards. And if not,
Listen, when I play it, it's discard Colress, card. It's different for people, man. You know, it doesn't really like me as much as Danny can really here.
But again, we do see another flower selecting. No Colress just yet. The prizing really hurting Danny here. As, yeah, we're going to see, again, just the flower selecting. I think just, I believe that was an energy and a switch card.
Yeah, not quite sure what's going on here, but, oh, here we go. We're back. Welcome back, guys. Promise lights are on here.
Definitely
another Battle VIP Pass getting
Pokemon.
played, though, so we're seeing more Pokemon come back down.
What do you grab here as Danny, though?
Sableye probably good to get into play. You know your opponent's not going to really utilize Cresselia this early on in the game, so you can at least put that Sableye down to play. Keep the bench spot open if you want to put Raikou down, or the Dragonite that you kept earlier.
I'm surprised he's not going for something like the Cramorant here.
Cramorant's in hand, so the Cramorant will come down. This deck's only playing 1 copy of Cramorant, so he's got it in hand. He's all set for this turn to at least be able to try to take some knockouts. However, there's only 3 cards in the Lost Zone, and Colress hasn't been played, so I don't even know if Danny's able to make anything happen here. But.
Do they have access to maybe the Lost Vacuum potentially? Again, the hand just looks a little bit awkward despite the, very commanding couple of Battle VIP passes. Danny's struggling here a little bit. Looks like...
Trying to see if we maybe missed something in terms of a judge call here. I'm not sure if Danny double retreated potentially. I'm trying to see if I missed anything by chance that happens. This is kind of one of the issues you go into. I think it can't be a double retreat though, because there's one energy discard pile, one switch card. So I think everything in terms of the board is good. Maybe he didn't shuffle off of something, but things like this happen sometimes. So we'll get everything resolved. Just to point out, there's 20 minutes left in this round. So, I mean, listen, I would generally consider myself a pessimist in terms of games finishing. I don't know if we're going to see 3 games finish here, but
I mean,
maybe Danny can pull one back and at least force a match point out of this match.
I'd be very, very surprised to see 3 games, especially against Lost Box and the Gardevoir. Again, Gardevoir typically has a lot of one-prizers in play, so it is a hard, it's a really slow deck to really knock out as well. And, but yeah, if anyone can do it, I believe in Danny Altavilla.
Listen, he's a 6-time regional champion for a reason, looking to possibly tie Michael Pramerlot in the record. Danny is one of these players that really had a slow season starting out, did not have a lot of great finishes, didn't day 2 a lot of the regional events or the international championship events. His team was doing incredible. Azul won an international championship. Grant Manley, other players have been super successful in terms of events, but Danny just hasn't been able to perform as well. It finally broke through last weekend, and it feels like he's found his groove with this deck. He's found his calling with this Lost Zone deck. Finally feels in place, and just as we were heating things up, just as we were getting into things, we're taking a little bit of a break here, but I think interesting storylines too between both these players. I mean, this is an example. I mean, Alec Geisler we haven't talked about a lot. He's a player from the Florida region, playing towards his invite for the World Championships, and you kind of got this 2 different sides here of like up and coming, right, younger player here, Alec, up against a veteran of the game, Danny Altavilla, who has seen so much throughout the game. It's kind of cool to see these sort of clashes between generations as we sort of get into the history here of Pokemon.
For sure. I mean, Alec is, yes, he's fairly newer to the game, but has a couple of day 2s under their belt. And in my opinion, getting a day 2, especially this season, that's such a huge accomplishment, especially with over 1,000 people in each regional. Come on.
I feel like this season, the competition has just been even more exciting. It feels like as soon as they announced at Worlds last year, we're going to Japan, it felt like the same thing everybody thought of. If there's one season I'm going to go hard, if there's one season I really want to try, it's this season. And you see, we've never had a season like this where thousands of people consistently show up. I remember Collinsville was like the one regional championship where we were able to really utilize, like, so many people sort of came out to these events. But
looks like
it looks like we're back in. So let's just get back into the match.
Looks like Pokestop being played here by Alec's side. Something of note, Danny did not have an attack. And for once, it's going to be the Gardevoir player who's going to be able to put on the pressure first. Again, Alec just being able to attach to the Zacian earlier turn, plus the Roar of the Sword, has 2 energy now on the Zacian, and Refinement being evolved, Refinement currently being evolved, draws 2 cards here, gets the Buddy Catch Gallade. Do we have the potential to go Rare Candy into that Gallade? And we can go ahead and grab ourselves a supporter.
Yeah, looking through the deck, seeing like what supporter possibly grab. There is that copy of Judge, and that's exactly what you want to see right there. Grabbing the Judge, playing it, disrupting the hand, putting Danny down to 4 cards. You know your opponent didn't find Colress, so there is sort of that one side of the risk. Doesn't even have to utilize the Forest Seal Stone. So I can pretty much just say, listen, I'm going to keep this in play. It's going to be here at any point. I can use my V-Star power. I can find myself more pieces. If I miss the Psychic Energy for some reason here, I can guarantee that. Just give yourself more consistency. And this Zacian maybe could even stay up one more turn, but I feel like if you're Alec, you maybe just want to use the V-Star power this turn because, of course, 3 cards in the Lost Zone. You got to kind of do the math in your head, right? 2 off Flower, selecting 2 off Chorus. That's 7. That's a magic number. That means Dragonite can come in and start taking some knockouts.
But we just hit them with the Judge, so that could be a tall order here. Looks like Alec didn't quite draw into the energy. Nope. Does have the level ball here. Could potentially set up another Ralts. Not too bad. Gonna have to use that V-Star power, just essentially turning it into an energy search, but that's the power of the Forest Seal Stone, right? Very flexible card, as we just see the knockout there. And passing it back to Danny, promotes the Comfey. Again, Danny in the back foot. Very, very tough position to be in. Zacian, very hard to deal with. You're gonna have to use one of your Pokemon Vs for sure.
Again, like 2 Chorus here for Danny is just so difficult. you really need to find Colress to get this deck going. You see it, how much it struggles to get being aggressive when it's unable to find Colress. That Greninja not finding anything here. Big time flower selecting. Nest Ball and Sableye are going to keep that. It looks like it's just going to be one more card here. I think potentially off of this. Oh, actually has no pivoting option. So I think it actually is going to come down to
Pokestop. Pokestop can draw you 3 cards right here.
It does also have the Nest Ball and Forest Seal Stone. But here we go. Pokestop. No! Gets rid of Colress and
you cursed it, Ethan.
Clara.
This is exactly what you were talking about.
Caster curse, man. Commentator curse. It's real, guys. Usually we don't jinx it into play, but instead it's going to be the Nest Ball to find Dragonite. And with only one Colress in play, we're going to see this Forest Seal Stone get utilized, find Colress out of the deck. So Danny's not out of this yet. Can put himself up to 6 cards here with the Colress in the Lost Zone, but needs to be able to utilize Flower Selecting another time. And I don't know if that's necessarily possible. He's going to need to find a lot of pieces here, being down so many resources and having a lot of those crucial resources also in the prize cards.
Again, he's going to need a Mirage Gate, energy in hand, a way to pivot twice. A lot riding on this Colress experiment here. Top 5 cards. What's it going to be? Is it going to be a knockout, or is Zacian going to be able to swing again for free? Here we go, 5 cards. I believe I see an Escape Rope, Energy Recycler, Cramorant potentially, so we could have a knockout here.
I think we need to find the Water Energy. I think that was potentially the piece that was missing. Getting rid of that, another Energy Recycler, so 2
and
now
the
hitting the
Escape
Lost
Rope.
Zone. Yeah, but Escape Rope's not great here, because if you utilize Escape Rope, then of course the Zacian goes to the bench, so you're going to be unable to switch it. And this is another choice. So I think maybe Alec is learning his lesson from the last game, saying, listen, if I bring up this Ralt, it can get knocked out by Cramorant. If I bring up this Curly, it can get knocked out. If I bring up Manaphy, it can get knocked out. But it is sort of a risk.
It's going to be the Manaphy here.
The risk about bringing Gallade up in this position is when you bring it up, you don't have Gardevoir to be able to pivot that out. You need to find Rare Candy the following turn if you bring that into the active spot. So it's going to have to be this Manaphy. So at minimum here, if Danny can find a way to put Cramorant into the active spot, use Spit Innocently, take prizes, and Danny wasn't able to find the full combination of pieces. We'll just have to stick for Cramorant, knocking out, Spit Innocently. We'll see the prize get taken.
Yeah, there we go. Spit Innocently, 110 damage on that Manaphy. More than enough to take that knockout. Alec here just straight promoting into the Zacian. Well, I'm sure they'd want a way to get that Manaphy back. And again, with that Buddy Catch Glade, could potentially find themselves a supporter and could be the Miriam here. And Miriam being played shuffles in both Manaphy and the Curlia, I believe, or Curlia or Ralts there, and able to draw three more cards.
Yep, this is the perfect power of Gallade. I mean, we don't see this card a lot in this deck. We usually see people just go for Lumineon, but Alec is playing both copies, Lumineon and Gallade, really just valuing the ability to find these supporter cards out. You've got a lot of great draw in Refinement, but no great way to search out specific pieces. Feels like Gallade might just be that piece to the puzzle to fix that out. Still needs to find the Manaphy, though. Did shuffle it back into the deck, but I see Ultra Ball there, so I think Alec will be able to be fine. And speaking of which, just draw straight into it, right? That makes things easy.
Why not? There we go, Manaphy. It was the grab there. Did grab the Manaphy off of the Miriam. Fog Crystal being played, grabs some basic energy. You know, something I haven't seen yet is the Radiant Greninja. I bet that's something I'm sure Alec would love.
Danny's looking at the card like, come on, man. You're really going to use that against me? It's really putting in work against me, but that's what Buddy Catch does. It finds some friends, it finds them out of the deck, and we see Miriam being a perfect card to just be able to search out specific pieces for.
Definitely a hallmark of a good player, I think, is understanding the pool of cards you have to work with in the metagame. And, you know, understanding the Gallade, it's a great card to play against this Lost Box. You're really looking for those targeted supporters like Judges, Roxannes, and all that, as we do see double Refinement being played already.
Does have the Manaphy in hand already. Has Manaphy, Ultra Ball. Something possibly thin some of these pieces out of the deck, like the double battle VIP pass you have, but you see Alec really just utilize his Refinement abilities to get rid of the energy cards instead, and deciding to just put the Gardevoir into play. Doesn't want to mess around with anything, wants to just have that there to utilize Psychic Embrace the following turn. I feel like you're not really in a position where you necessarily needed to evolve that this turn. The only risk is that your opponent somehow lost mines, but if they're going to lost mine and knock out Curlia, they'll just knock out the one that you don't evolve, right? So maybe didn't really need to evolve that away necessarily, but I mean, you can see the concern. You just want to sort of play around it, make sure you have it to evolve, and if your opponent doesn't target it down, then you got the ability to evolve the other one up next turn.
Definitely, and just like that, Alec's board looking absolutely terrifying here. Technically, when you're up against when you're up against the Gardevoir deck, you want to see those low HP Pokemon, those low-hanging fruits, those easy knockouts. But right now, 160 HP, 220, 310. It's not looking too good here for Danny as he promotes the Comfey.
It's so tough here because Danny has no Colress in deck. The other two are still in the prize cards. One was discarded off Pokestop, and one was played. So Danny's options are pretty limited here. I mean, you can utilize triple flower selecting. That will get you to 10 cards in the Lost Zone if you want to use Sableye, but it's not an easy feat to do. You've got Dragonite in play as well, so you could utilize Dragon Gale. I feel like that's the attack you want to go for this turn. But the pieces just aren't there. Has the Mirage Gate, but had to Lost Zone another Mirage Gate the previous turn. Danny's really just looking for that Water Energy card or another Mirage Gate to be able to take this knockout on Zacian to keep himself in this prize race.
If they take a knockout on the Zacian, though, it does leave them open to win Roxanne this next turn. Again, without Chorus Experiment in the deck, that could be a game-losing play.
It's tough. It really is tough with how you want to play through this game, with how you want to play through this board.
But that, you have to take prize. You can't win the Pokemon trading card game without taking prizes, as Danny uses a Mirage Gate there, attaches to the Dragonite.
This is interesting to utilize Mirage Gate first, because usually you want to utilize Comfey, flower selecting, try to find the Water Energy, but by playing this Mirage Gate first, you're taking Water Energy out of the deck, so maybe this just signals Danny doesn't want to be put in a position where he has to Lost Zone too many energy cards, and here we go, Pokestop, get rid of 3. Does find the Energy Recycler, getting rid of that energy, no big deal. The question for me now is, do we see this Water Energy off this flower selecting?
Very
important. Take this knockout.
Ooh, Mirage Gate is technically that's the Water Energy. Yeah, and the Retreat.
Yeah, it does have a Switch card as well. Can just utilize that to maybe go into one more Comfey, flower select, and see if the water's there.
Oh, we just draw into the water.
It's a tough choice, though, because you have to Lost Zone Clara if you want to keep this Water Energy.
Was it Clara?
Yeah, it was the Clara.
That is the double-edged sword of playing these Lost Box decks. Again, I always think of it as, man, you have to be an absolutely amazing player to do so well with this deck, especially in a big tournament like this where you have to make those really, these micro decisions that could matter so many, which are really big in the long run. Looks like it could be the energy sent to the Lost Zone there, really valuing the Clara.
I think what Danny understands is Colress's prize. If I haven't played a supporter card this turn, I can play Clara to put a Water Energy back into my hand and have that option to go with potentially. And I think that might just be what Danny is signaling. Get rid of the energy now, but get more resources back to potentially work with it instead.
Something they could do here is also just attack with the Sableye. Maybe target down the Curlia before it evolves into a Gardevoir EX potentially.
Yeah, you could go for that play. I think the problem is, the longer you leave this Dragonite in play, the more options your opponent has to knock it out down the line. I mean, if this Zacian takes another energy card, it will only need to utilize 2 Psychic Embrace abilities to take a knockout, and from there, you're not damaging yourself too much to feel like overextend to take this knockout, so that's pretty good.
Looks like Heavy Ball was played there. Gets to shuffle the prizes a little bit. Could draw into the Chorus Experiment this next turn, since it is in the bottom spot. Lost Vacuum being played, sending the Pokestop and a Manaphy to the Lost Zone, putting Danny at 10.
So it seems like what you said is correct with how this is played out. 10 cards in the Lost Zone, perfect card math is there. Has Mirage Gate, has 10 cards in the Lost Zone, and there's plenty of energy to bring back into the deck. Got 5 energy there in the discard pile. Just get brought back with the Energy Recycler. Mirage Gate can put them on. I think for me, I mean, we've sort of talked about this time and time again. When you've got the choice between Manaphy and Curlia, what do you knock out with Lost Mine? Or do you do what you did last turn? I really think you have to at least take knockouts and put some sort of pressure on. You're not putting yourself in Roxanne range, so it feels like there's no reason not to. Your opponent has the bench space to possibly use Cresselia. I think you still go after Curlia. I think you shut that engine off. I think you try to take away the draw so that later on it's just harder for your opponent to find the pieces they need to keep pace with you.
Looks like it is going to be that Clara that's going to be played in a bit here again, able to find themselves 2 energy and 2 Pokemon back into the hand. Looks like it's going to be the Psychic Energy, Water Energy.
The question here is, do you even put Cramorant back in your hand? I feel like at this point, maybe, but I think if you're going to play your second copy of Clara, you're probably just going to want to stick to utilizing Sableye and probably just Dragonite to attack at one point, and your opponent's got disruption cards. If you're not going to want to see Cramorant, you really don't want that to be one of the 2 cards you draw into off Roxanne.
All right, so it looks like it is going to be an attachment there onto the Comfey, retreating the Dragonite. That means we're going to have to use the Mirage Gate to attack here.
Yep, so Energy Recycler, Mirage Gate. That does have the Sableye down into play, so this will work out pretty nicely. You can put the energy back in and then utilize Mirage Gate to find Water Energy and a Psychic Energy, power up the Sableye, and power up the Dragonite at the same time.
Are we going to put any more? It looks like...
I think what Danny wants to do is just make sure the deck is not flooded with energy cards because he kind of just predicts that Roxanne is coming next turn if this is going to happen. So, Danny,
like
what Danny's doing is he's pretty much saying, I'm going to take this knockout, I'm going to go to 3 prizes. I know you have guaranteed Roxanne with Buddy catching Gallade, but I'm going to put a Psychic Energy on my Sableye to make sure that, hey, listen, even if I draw into nothing, I can at least lost mine and at minimum take prizes on something like the Manaphy coming up next turn.
You know, that's exactly the board state I hate seeing when I'm playing against the Lost Boss. Sometimes I'm thinking, you know what, I'm going to judge them because it should be harder for them to really put together an attacker, but having that energy on the Sableye just changes things as we do see the Gragging Scale. Again, just taking a knockout there on the Zacian and putting 20 damage all across the board. As we pass back to Alec, did put the Curly in the active, maybe signifying that we are going to evolve into potentially a Gardevoir EX, or no, maybe the Shining Arcana Gardevoir to possibly take a knockout on the Dragonite.
Yeah, Shining Arcana is this weird position where you take the knockout on the Dragonite, but you damage yourself really heavily, so you give Danny a pretty easy 2 prize cards to take the following turn, but that's sort of the issue in this position. Is sure, you go yourself down to 2 prize cards, but Danny's at 3. And that means it's going to be pretty easy for him to utilize his attack. I think, honestly, in this position, it's pretty weird, but a lot of times if you're Alec, you really want to wait to take those last 2 prize cards on Dragonite. So you can utilize something like the Roxanne, and then also utilize Cresselia this turn to target down the Sableye, put your opponent in a weird spot where they're using Dragonite. Sure, they're going to 2 prize cards, but as long as you're not putting extra damage counters on the board for your opponent to give them that 2 prize, multi-prize turn with Sableye, and they're just taking single prizes with Dragonite, you're going to have that time to come back in the game and swing the prize trade.
Definitely makes sense here. But it looks like we are going to refine first a little bit before we evolve into the Shining Arcana Gardevoir. There it is. Shining Arcana Gardevoir, similar to the Refinement Curlia. You're technically drawing 2 cards as Roxanne is being played. Looks like Cresselia being benched there. Could still be an option. We could attach 2 energies to the Gardevoir, retreat, and attack with the Cresselia. But again, Roxanne, absolutely powerful card. Both players shuffle in.
It's weird because if you go for that play, I feel like you really want to utilize not only the Moonglow reverse, but also the ability to just put free energies on your Gardevoir without damaging it. But by retreating it, you're going to put 40 on there and then move 2 again. Doesn't really feel like exactly what you want to do. But I mean, Alec is in this position. He's 3-0, playing it out, up 1-0. It still is a good shot to win. Danny's only going to get 2 cards here to work with. The Sableye, sure, it's guaranteed this turn. There's nothing guaranteed besides that the following turn afterwards. We got a close game 2 happening.
For sure, looks like we are going to see the Psychic Embrace coming up. The question is, how many energy? A lot.
6 energy. Yeah, every damage counter matters, and that means there's easy math lined up on these to take 2 prize cards here. But Alec responding, 2 prize cards taken, and what did Danny find off of those prize cards? I believe maybe found both of those Colress Experiments. Has Sableye, has the ability to not only knock out this Manaphy, knock out the active Pokemon, and the prize card is on board with that Cresselia for the last prize card here for Danny.
I know, maybe at this point, dropping the Cresselia might have been a misplay. Again, it opens up the Sableye play.
The problem is, like, by doing that, the Cresselia really doesn't matter because you put 2 damage counters here to knock this out, 7 to knock out the Manaphy, and then you have 3 left. So if you put 3 on the Gallade, it's still enough to be able to take a knockout.
Doesn't Gallade have 168?
It is 160. So
he'd be 10
short. Yeah. Wow. The more you know, right?
All right. Looks like. I wonder where they put the 3 damage counters here.
I think it doesn't necessarily matter. I think you could just put it on something like the. I guess you could put it on the Cresselia. By putting on the Cresselia, you give yourself an out for like Kramer to take a knockout technically if the damage counters get moved up.
But we all know it's going to heal up in a second here.
Yeah. Again, it doesn't matter. Like if the Psychic Energy is there, the game is over. Danny's got the ability to utilize Lost Mine. Alec can't take 2 prize cards. There's no Echoing Horn boss shenanigans that he's got in his deck.
I think big question here is, I think you want to hit Danny with another Roxanne, right? So if they have access to something like a Palpad.
Ooh, there's the Penny though. And that is an insane find there for Alec. Penny healing this off the board, putting just the Gardevoir and the Gallade into play, means there's no way for this to take a knockout. Danny will have to find some way to pivot this up into the active spot, but I think Danny's got the pieces here, right? That Gallade is still on board, so if there's a way to deal 160 damage to it and power it up, is there? Oh, of course we forgot the Echoing Horn Let's see if it's in deck. The Echoing Horde is still in play there, so Danny very clearly is trying to figure out how to get this position going. So let's count the amount of cards in deck here. There's 9 cards in deck. Colress will see 5, and a combination of a concealed cards and a flower selecting will allow Danny to see his entire deck. I think the pieces might be here.
All right. Big Colress experiment here. If you draw into the Echoing Horn, you essentially win. 5 cards. Pokestop is the, there's the Echoing Horn and the switch card. And just like that, Danny Altavilla is going to tie things up 1-1, but with only 4 minutes left in the round.
Practically deciding a tie for both of these players at this point. But you saw Danny not out of it even after such a poor start, after having 2 Colress's Experiment prize, keeping his head in the game, figuring out the most opportune time to utilize Dragonite, to put damage counters on with Sableye. And again, I think back to Alec in that position there. Was there a route where you just ignore the Dragonite for a turn? You know your opponent, if you've been studying this Lost Zone deck, it's the same 60 cards that he piloted to the Hartford Regional Championships 2 weekends ago. Do you take the risk and attack with Cresselia that turn, wait to put damage counters until the last moment possible, and try to just deny Danny the opportunity to utilize Lost Mine and really leave it down to those 2 cards?
Definitely, I think maybe a little case of the tunnel vision there. Sometimes it's so tempting to take those 2 prizes. It's already there in the active. I have an attacker that takes an easy knockout here. Not only that, it's a single prize attacker, but the damage counters. Every single damage counter matters against Lost Box, and I definitely think that was the downfall of that match. This was a very interesting game here, Ethan, don't you think? Alec was in pretty much a driver's seat the entire time game 2, while Danny was in the driver's seat for game 1, but they both didn't win those games.
Speaking of driver's seat, if you've never seen Danny play this fast, buckle in, because he is in turbo mode right now. Prize checking, going fast, that's what I'm all about. We're not prize checking here. I got Comfey in play, we've got Greninja, we're good, and Danny very much clearly does not want to tie this early on in the game.
I mean, we call it Turbo Lost Box for a reason, right? Because we play fast with it, no?
So we saw concealed cards get used, and here we go. Danny's playing super fast, so we'll try to keep up with what's happening, but, I mean, this is Lost Zone 101, right? Use these first turns, get rid of what you can afford to get rid of in the Lost Zone, keep what you want to keep, start to build up those hands to cram around on the second turn, to also possibly get those 7 cards in the Lost Zone. If you can utilize Flower Selecting 3 times, then 2 times the next turn, Colress puts you at 7.
Exactly. Looks like Nest Ball being played now. Gets more Pokemon in play. I believe 2 Flower Selectings have been used. Gets Cramorant now. So we do have an attacker lined up. Looks like we're just going to pass it back to Alec. Let's see what Alec has in store for us. A couple of awkward prizing. Has 2 Ralts prize and a Curly-Up and the Rock Sand, which is an absolutely huge card for sure. While prizing on Danny's side, couple of energies, the Clara and a Forest Sealstone. Battle VIP pass. That means Alex is going to have a good time. What does he grab here? Going to be the Manaphy. Looks like Manaphy on top could grab themselves a Ralts.
Yeah, Ralts will definitely come down. I think this is an opportunity now where Greninja is more of a choice because you can only get 2 Ralts down to play. And what a start here for Alec. Assuming these Ralts weren't prized, this would be a textbook great start. Get down these Pokemon into play. You've got the ability to utilize Roar of the Sword this turn to power up your board, get this energy into play. Now, because you didn't get the attachment down for a turn, you're not threatening a Storm Slash the following turn without putting in Gardevoir EX into play, but I think the way that Alex is probably seeing this is, listen, if my deck is going to win this game against Lost Zone, it's going to be like a long 20-minute game. I know we don't have a lot of time into play. As long as I'm at least functioning, as long as I'm not giving my opponent like 5 prize turns, 4 prize turns going up, as long as I'm at least keeping somewhat of a pace, I'm not just draw passing, this game will probably finish in a tie.
Yeah, there we go. We're going to see a switch card here into another Comfey Flower Selecting. Grabs a Chorus, not too bad there. Chorus Experiment now being played. Again, this is the Lost Box you want to see, right? I'm sure this was the Lost Box Danny would have loved to see game 1 or 2.
Yeah, I think the question here is if you've got something like the switch card in hand, you can attack the Zacian. I think that's good. Just keep the damage on the Zacian, keep that bench space open. You always give yourself the option to Lost Mine to knock it out, to even Greninja knock things out. Danny just chugging at it, keeping going, drawing more cards, but I don't even think Alex is going to be able to start things out. This might be Danny's one of his last 2 turns to finish this game out, and for anyone watching at home, sorry to break the news, this deck takes a little bit more than 2 turns to win the game.
For sure, especially if your opponent's side of the board just has a bunch of single prize Pokemon and 1 Pokemon V. No, definitely, as we do see, again, Danny pretty much set up here, has 5 cards into the Lost Zone, can potentially attack with the Spit instantly on the Cramorant. If he has Escape Rope, could potentially take, oh, not even a knockout because there's a Radiant Greninja on the bench. A very defensive board here on Alec's side, and it's just going to be a draw.
Both players shaking hands up and understanding, listen, we've got 2 turns to take 6 prize cards. You know, I've got some pretty good math background there. I don't think that's enough to be able to close things out. Both players staying undefeated, but adding a tie to their resume. 3-0-1 heading into round 5.
Not too bad. I mean, both players, I think, played absolutely phenomenally. It was very interesting to see for sure. I was thinking Gardevoir was just out of this match. Definitely an unfavored matchup, but Alec just proving me wrong there.